We are live. I am Rich Lieberman. It is Monday. It's a very, very busy Monday. And the whole world is in adulation. The whole world is just falling off their chairs and doing somersaults. Jimmy Kimmel is back. Oh my God. Well, I haven't been around for a couple of days because I've been kind of following this story and other stories. And folks, look, let me just say something right off the bat, okay? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not one of these people who jumps to immediate conclusions based on nothing and just based on hunch. But on the other hand, let's just cut to the chase here, okay? For God's sakes. Now, look, in case you're in a news oasis and away from Earth, perhaps in some other dimension, Jimmy Kimmel has returned. ABC and Disney felt the brunt of criticism, which, yes, ultimately cost the bottom line. And that's the only thing that counts these days. And that is they were getting pressure, they were getting hit back from corporate, from Hollywood, from celebrity functions, from the very essence that put them in a position to do what they did initially, they being Disney and ABC, more significantly Disney, feeling the pain, the brushback, the fallback, the pushback from the celebrity media culture and world. Thus, the whole brouhaha has been placated by Disney and Robert Iger and all of the various people, the board of directors, their stockholders, their financial gurus, all of that. And Jimmy Kimmel will triumphantly return to the airwaves on Tuesday night with ratings that will probably go off the chart, or at least whatever constitutes going off the chart in today's world, today's environment. But you got to believe that there will be significant attention. And what will Jimmy say? And there's feelers out there as to his opening monologue and the amount of crap, probably with ABC and Disney's knowledge as to what he's going to say. But before we get to that, the big Graham guru himself, and that is Iger and Lauren Walden, who's also a chief big-time exec at ABC, one of the CEOs. What do they know? What kind of arrangement did they make? More importantly, and this is the biggest question, this is the gorilla in the room, there are stations that are not amongst the ABC stations, the ABC owned and operated stations, like your KABC in LA, your WABC in New York and Chicago, and KGO TV here in the Bay Area. Now they're going to run Kimmel. Of course they are. They're owned and operated by ABC Disney. But Nexstar and the stations that are just affiliates, what are they going to do? Now we have a real monkey in the room. These are the stations that probably were the impetus behind the Disney situation of canceling Jimmy Kimmel. But put that aside for a moment. Folks, it goes to say, publicity is a very, very big entity. It creates these little mini dramas. Look, I've said all along, when this story first emerged in the middle of last week, look at the amount of attention this is getting. Look at this. And you know what? Let's just state this. Am I for free speech? Of course I am. Of course. And I agree now with various people, not wholeheartedly, that a lot of this was not based on free speech. I'll tell you what. the ratings for Jimmy Kimmel indeed were down, very much down. And I like Jimmy Kimmel. I think he's funny. I don't think he's Stephen Colbert, who became predictable. And I can't even watch anymore because it is too much about politics. Not nearly enough about alleged comedy. Jimmy Fallon on NBC. Not funny, in my opinion. I haven't laughed at Jimmy Fallon, I think, since his early days at Saturday Night Live. But back to the main thinking here. Jimmy Kimmel's ratings were in the toilet. I had no idea, did you, that over 250 people worked for Kimmel on the ABC show, be it producers and writers and backstage people and various show execs and side people. For example, his sidekick, Guillermo, and all that. Now, look, have I ever laughed at Jimmy Kimmel? Yeah, I think he's pretty talented. I think he's funny. Until he, like Colbert, decided to turn the show into a political show. And folks, I'm a political junkie, but I'm sick of politics like many of you are. And I think by and large, what has happened here is that in many regards, ABC Disney had a reason to go after Kimmel. The show wasn't doing that well. The ratings were down. Doesn't mean you go trample on the First Amendment and limit, or in some cases, like what happened here, you fire the guy and you say you can't say what he said and all that. But the truth of the matter is, like many of you, I thought that the whole thing with what he said and the subsequent response by Disney was actually doing them a favor, that they're removing a show that costs, much like Colbert, a lot of money, millions and millions and millions of dollars, that frankly we're not bringing anything to ABC, much like what CBS did with Colbert. Wasn't making $100 million, which is what supposedly it cost CBS for Colbert, which is one of the reasons why they got rid of him. Not because of what he said against Trump or because of whatever. And this was before, mind you, the Charlie Kirk tragedy. Now, look, I'm not saying this was all about publicity, but I am saying, you think all this publicity, folks, was maybe the sole intention of what ABC ended up doing? Now, they brought him back. And what's these Nexstar stations are going to do? I have no idea. My guess, my gut would be, is that most of them will take the lead from ABC, and they will air Jimmy Kimmel Live. After all, you want to talk about ratings here. What? It's been a whole almost week of nonstop Jimmy Kimmel, First Amendment, every other station talking about this, individuals talking about the celebrities. We're not going to go on the Kimmel show. We're not going to go to Disneyland. We're boycotting Disney. Hell, there were protests in front of almost all of the Disney stations, including here in San Francisco, in LA, New York, Chicago, and Boston, and all that. There has been an unmitigated amount of publicity over all of this. Who knows? Maybe it was the intention. Maybe it was the missive from the beginning. I doubt that, but I'm bringing it up because I don't give any kind of surprise today and think about what has taken place, the subsequent reenactment and the capitulation now by ABC Disney to, in fact, bring Kimmel back. Now, look, Kimmel isn't saying anything. He hasn't said anything all week long. Probably the advice from his attorneys to shut up, because I'm thinking it wasn't just the negative publicity that Disney was getting. It wasn't the fact that Disney knew that they effed up and that their business decision ultimately, in the name of free speech and all that, would double indemnify them. It was the fact that the pressure, the pushback had gone too far. And yes, you tell families, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then subsequently, all this negative publicity about Disney. Yes, that does make a difference. So they did it about face. But meanwhile, was it just that kind of really easy situation? And now Jimmy Kimmel's going to come back and everything's going to be hunky dory and they're all going to live happily ever after? I doubt it. I really do doubt it. Which brings me back to my initial thoughts. What's he going to say? What's he going to do? Is this going to just be a little bit of a comment, somewhat of a statement in his monologue, and then he's going to go back to being Jimmy Kimmel and ostensibly interviewing celebrities and talking back to his sidekick Guillermo, and that's going to be it? I doubt it. I think there's more to this. I think something is up here. Like I said, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but this is just too convenient. All right. Too methodical, if you will. The bottom line remains the bottom line. And something to Iger or to his other boss and to the powers that be at Disney, something had to give. There is more to this. And there is another chapter, and it has to do with the Nexstar stations. Because if they bow out, and let's just say, hypothetically, that Kimmel goes on his Tuesday night show, which again will offer record ratings. I'm believing that. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't you? He's going to say something. There is going to be further pushback. And can you imagine what Trump, and don't rule out Trump and his juice, his power. What's he going to do? How's he going to react? Because if I know Kimmel's going to say something and it might inflame things. We should know very early on because, of course, Tuesday night, will he release his monologue? Will we know portions of it? Will we have kind of a feeling as to what he's saying? Well, I have a feeling as to what he's going to say, and I don't think it's going to be hunky-dory. I don't think it's going to be all nice and little pretty and everything's going to be back to normal. And why? Because, folks, let me get this straight. Sure, Jimmy Kimmel has sympathy for his workers, over 200 of them who depend upon his welfare to live and to work. I'm sure they have options, but not like Jimmy Kimmel. If ABC, Disney, or even Nexstar were to dare once again pull the plug, Kimmel will have another show. We're not gonna worry about Jimmy Kimmel's overall welfare. That will be taken care of. But right now, there will be some pushback. There will be. That's number one. What's Nexstar stations? What are they going to do? And number two, what's he going to say? What will his monologue be on Tuesday night? If it's nice and short and quick and they're off to another subject matter, well, the power of money has subsided. If it's a lengthy monologue and he vilifies Disney and ABC, which might be the case, then we know that it wasn't just this little simple thing and everything's back to normal. Because, folks, you can't limit something with a comedian, certainly not Kimmel, I wouldn't imagine. And again, don't cry for him. He'll have plenty of opportunities to have another show in all of these various new streaming platforms, on the internet, on cable. Well, maybe not cable, but there are so many opportunities out there. But, right now, let's just state the obvious. Somebody, some show got a crap load of publicity over all of this. And, who might be laughing the most? Mickey Mouse, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. I'm Rich Lieberman. Please subscribe to my channel here on YouTube and watch me almost every day as I talk about the media and culture and everything you love, which is one of the reasons why you come here.